Hello, everyone, and welcome to this AR Masterclass on building AR effects for sharing. My name is Raisah Aziz, and I'm a product manager on Spark AR Studio.
And I am Davide Sala, and I'm a 3D generalist on Spark AR.
Great. So today we're going to be running you guys through how to make AR effects towards helping people to share. Sharing is very close to our hearts here at Facebook. It's really the backbone of everything we do here, and AR has proven to be an excellent medium to help people to share. We've already seen over the last year and a half, lots of people sharing on stories and videos using AR effects to make themselves feel more confident, and that can range from anything like a face filter to different objects in your screen to different 3D objects in your world. So I'm very excited to share this tutorial with you today, as it's really impactful and really meaningful to the community that you'll be publishing these effects to.
So what shall we build?
So our brief today is to build an AR effect that helps people look good, express themselves, or be funny. So within that, I think some of the most popular effects we've seen so far have really been using the selfie camera to help people augment their faces in certain ways, and it feels a lot more personal. So I'm going to narrow this brief down a little bit more to let's create an AR effect that helps people to look cool and express themselves. So let's narrow it down even more. Two really interesting things that we've seen help people to look confident and share have been filters, so image filters for their world, and also various objects. So whether it's a makeup sort of effect or a skin smoothing effect or bunny ears, but I think what we should focus on today is glasses. So people always look really cool in sunglasses or generic glasses. So let's try to use a mix of glasses with image filtering to create an AR effect that helps people to express themselves and feel confident, but in a personalized way.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea because it will look also gender neutral. It will be very expressive, and you can choose between so many different designs.
I love that. I love that you called out that it's gender neutral as well. I completely agree. So let's add that into the brief as well, that let's make sure that these glasses are gender neutral, so that we can help people to share.
Yeah. Do we have any other specification?
Let's make sure that we don't cover too much of the face, and I'm sure you wouldn't with glasses, but it's just a call out here that typically face-focused effects perform best when they're not covering too much of the face. People like to augment their face, but they don't want to cover up too much. So too much masking or something that would be branded or something to that effect doesn't really fly as well. So let's keep it simple. Let's make sure we're showcasing the person, but helping them to feel confident.
Yeah, I think also we can do, like, let's say few design for the frames and maybe 2 colors option for this filter. What do you think about it?
I love that. I think that's a great way to help people to personalize. If we've got 2 options for filtering and a few options for glasses, people can mix and match to create a combination that they love. And I think let's go a step further and make sure we have one very classic sort of coloring, so maybe like a black and white or a vignette, and one a bit more fun and hip, so something quite colorful for if somebody's feeling quite happy or expressive, they can use that. For the glasses, let's have 3 options that people can use, but that's probably quite a lot of 3D modeling, isn't it?
Yeah. In this case, I was thinking to do a sort of 2.5D glasses, which is a way to do glasses that can be easily, we can easily iterate with, and we can come up with different design. And I think is the best way to go at this point.
Okay, cool. I'm really intrigued to hear what 2.5D glasses are. But before we get into that, what will we use for the colors and the filters?
For the colors, we can use this great Spark AR Studio feature called Visual Shaders, which allow us to iterate on the colors of the scene and the video feed and the materials and so on.
That's perfect, because the look and feel of an effect is so important
Yes,
to
it
make
is.
people feel like they're engaged. So I love that. Okay, cool. So should we get cracking?
Yes, let's start.
So Davide, how do we build the 2.5D glasses?
Yeah, so what we can do, we start with a 3D software, which can be your favorite one. And first thing I usually do to get the proportion right, I import our reference face mesh, which you can get from the help menu, and there is an entry called Get Face Reference Asset. This collection of assets will get you started when you have to do, this kind of thing. So what I do, I drag the face mesh into my project, and then I will show you straight away how I was thinking about these 2.5D glasses. So the idea here is to create 3 planes and map these 3 planes with all the glasses elements. So the 2 hands and the main panel in front for the frame. And I also made it bigger because let's say in the future we want to make more design, like let's say New Year's Eve, a pair of glasses, we have more space to put more details into it.
Got it.
So, and then here there is kind of a structure that I put in place to better understand how I need to paint these 2D frames.
So it's really cool that you're using 2D assets, but just using different planes to create a 3D effect. So you don't even need to be a pro at 3D modeling really to create an effect. You can do this as a 2D artist.
Yeah, you definitely can. And what I did here in this software was basically I was designing these 2D frames, and I had some reference point that you can see here as these red dots that will tell me where, let's say, the position of the user ears will be and where is the nose bridge. So I was able to design around it.
Very cool.
I'm exporting our 3D design as PNGs.
Okay.
So PNGs with alpha. And I'm also adding an extra bit, which is a 4th design. The 4th design is going to be an empty design. So we will in this way we will make the effect way more flexible. So people will be able to choose between 3 design, and then if we want, we can hide the frame. So it's like an extra bit of customization.
That's really cool. That's a good user experience. Awesome. So okay, now we've got our assets, you've exported them, and now we just have to dive into Spark AR Studio.
Yes. Open AR Studio, insert a face mesh. So the face mesh is a 3-dimensional representation of the user face, which is like one of the most powerful features that we have in AR Studio. And then what I do, I import all our assets, which are the 2.5D 3D model and the 4 design for our frames. So here I drag the FBX and I parent it under the face tracker. So our 3D geometry will be driven by our face movement.
That's really cool. So in this scene tree, what you're doing is you're just making sure that things are in the right hierarchy so that you can see them affect the face in the way that you want.
Yeah. And the second step will be to import our 4 design. So I'm going to do that by clicking on the plus button, import from computer, and I will select all 4 of them, click on sequence, and in this way I will tell Spark AR Studio to import 4 frames. Okay.
I thought sequencing was usually used for animations.
Yes, it is, but in this case we are going to use it to switch our design. So we are going to use the same, let's call it animation technology, but to cycle through our different different designs.
Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. So what's next?
Next is we need to assign our texture to these 3D models. So we select the 3D 2.5D glasses. We click on the frame material and we add this animation.
So this is really interesting. Every time you select something in the scene part of the tool, actually the inspector panel changes to give you the most relevant option. So it's worth getting familiar with all of your options for each texture and an object in your scene, isn't it?
Yes. And it is actually great to be able to manipulate all these 3D models and interact with your face in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, I'm using like one of our sample videos, but you can quickly change into real time, like video feed from your webcam.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it.
There you are.
Yes. There you go.
With a beautiful face mesh.
Yes. So what we can do now is hide the face mesh for now. And we made sure that we have the design. But as you can see, we are not driving the design just yet. Mm-hmm. So our next step will be to create the design switching logic.
All right, so we're going to add some interactivity to help switch between these glasses, but where have the glasses gone?
Oh, sorry, they are hidden right here. So I'm going to select the object and click on visible.
Ah, great. Okay, so they're back.
Yes.
Cool.
So now to create interactivity and let the user be able to change the design, I'm going to click on the animation object. Then I will click on the current frame, and this will open up our patch editor, which is this great feature that we have to, they will let us create effect logic in a visual way.
This is an absolute game changer. As somebody who's absolutely hopeless at JavaScript, Patch Editor, which is a visual programming interface that we have in Studio, has really meant that even if you're not completely fluent in JavaScript, you can still add interactions and you can still add logic to your effect and make these really cool interactive experiences.
To be able to do that, we will select the 2D glasses model, click on action and do tap. So the patch editor will be automatically populated by these two nodes, which represent a way for Spark AR Studio to detect every time we touch an object. So by pressing Command and left click, you can see that this
lighting up.
Yes, and it's kind of giving you a visual feedback of what's going on in this graph. But really here, as you can see, there is no connection. So to be able to create, to cycle through all this different design, what we do, we create a counter. So a counter patch is a way for us to count numbers and with the ability to set up some rules. So I'm going to connect the tab to the increase counter and with a maximum count of 4 because we have 4 images. And if I connect the count to the current frame and I simulate the touch again.
Ah, they're changing.
Yes.
That's great. It's also probably worth pointing out that for the first two patches that you added, it was the tool, depending on what you clicked in the inspector panel, that brought up these patches, because there's this concept of progressive disclosure in AR Studio that means that as you get into the complexity, the tool will adapt to help you do what you're trying to do. But then you can also add your own patches right in Patch Editor to add this logic, which is what you did with the counter. You have to right click and then add the counter, and there's a list of all the patches. So there's two ways to get involved with Patch Editor there. It's either through, the complexity you're trying to access or in Patch Editor itself, which is pretty cool.
Which is actually, I really like this feature. So Now, what we have to do, you may notice that see the hands of the glasses are going through.
Yes,
my
they're cutting
face.
in your eye.
Yeah.
How do we get rid of that?
So what we can do, we can use the face mesh that we originally created to use it as a mask, as an occluder, to tell the system do not render the rest of the hands. So this is gonna add realism to it.
That's awesome.
So let's turn this one on. And then what we do, we create a material, which I'm going to call occluder matte. And I'm going to set the opacity to 0. Oh.
But isn't it still going to cut into your eyes?
Yeah.
Because the mesh has the eyes
Yes, you're
cut
right.
out.
So what I can do, I go back to the face mesh and I check these two options off. So this is going to create a continuous surface of my face. And so this means that
Bam.
we can use it as an occluder.
That is such a neat trick to make this look a bit more realistic.
Yeah, it is.
Very cool. Okay, cool. So now I think the glasses are kind of there, right? So we need to move on to the color. So how are we going to apply this color filter to the scene?
Yes, now that we have the logic for our design in place, we need to create an overlay. So, and when we do an overlay, we create this 2D object called rectangle. Rectangle are elements inside a canvas. So Spark AR Studio is going to help us create that straight away by creating already a canvas for us and a rectangle. So when we do that, we click on Fill Parent. So by doing Fill Parent, look at how cool. So when I do Fill Parent, it's gonna automatically adapt to the device size. So this effect is going to work on multiple devices, and this overlay will adapt to any size. So
I like how you're just floating in the middle of a chessboard.
But this actually tells me that I need to fix something, which is a setting I need to turn on. So we want to have this overlay on top of everything. So first thing, I'm going to turn on this alpha. No, not this one. Sorry, the alpha test. So this is a way to. This option is off by default, and we have to turn it on now to have this feature in place. Otherwise, this can be quite heavy, and we always try to make effect as light as possible so everybody can use it.
Light, you mean in terms of size?
Effect size and performance.
Okay.
Change our default layer to be a cutout. And as you can see, our overlay is always in front of our pair of glasses. But then we do need a material for this, which is the way we're going to add the overlay. So we create a material and we call it overlay.
So this is what you'll apply the different colors to?
Yes. So, and as we said before, we decided on two colors variation for the overlays. So I can zoom out a bit.
Yes, you promised me visual shaders, so let's see how these visual shaders work now.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm gonna do is changing this to flat because I don't want my overlay to be affected by lighting.
Oh, I see. Cool. So we're not gonna. So depending on the light in the room, it's not going to change the way that the gradient renders. Okay.
So then I click on texture, and this is showing our diffuse texture from the overlay material in the patch editor. Now what I need is the camera texture.
What's a camera texture do?
The camera texture is is basically a real-time texture that you can apply on 3D object or 2D object, which basically let me show it to you straight away. Is a texture which represents the real-time video feed from your camera device.
Oh, cool.
Which is something very cool. And so what we have to do now is to create some visual shaders.
It's really incredible that you can create visual shaders right here in Patch Editor. I mean, previously you'd have to have done it in some other software and then imported it into Spark AR Studio, right?
Yeah, or create very long scripts. So now you can do this in real time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pause the video, and this will let me like iterate on my image, but I don't have to. I don't have to be in frame, so everything is gonna be in it, so I can move around. Okay. So let's put this camera texture on a side for a second because we need to create our gradients. So do you think maybe I can start with the vintage look? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Let's start with classic.
Cool. So to be able to do that, I'm going to create two patches. One is the gradient node, and I will set it to circular.
So there's two options here.
There are like three. So
there's three.
You can have horizontal gradients, vertical, and circular, which means you will be able to choose a color that goes from the center out.
Got it.
Or vice versa. In this case, we want to create a vignette effect, so I'm going to do the circular one. Now we need a gradient step, which is a patch that allows you to set up some configuration for your gradient.
Oh.
And then, yeah, I'm just connected to our material, and you can see already the how it looks like. So this is like the first component which I need to tweak a little bit. So I think I want it to fade a little bit more. So I will put 0.6 and 2. So this is like what we get.
So with the circular one, the numbering is 0 from the middle to 1 outside.
Yeah.
And for the others, it's 0 to 1 top to bottom or left to right.
Yes, exactly. Now what we have to do, we have to go back to the camera texture. I'm going to overlay this one. Okay. The other was because the overlay material needs an RGBA input.
Okay.
While I was trying to connect a vector 3 input, but it needs 4. So this is why it was like giving me this nice red error, which is great because it can tell you straight away what's wrong with it.
That's really useful.
Yes.
You don't want to wait until you're trying out your effect to know that something's broken.
Exactly. Yes. So now we what we want to do, we want to create a sort of a black and white filter. So I do that by creating a dot product.
What does that do?
The dot product is a way to manipulate your input pixel, and is a simple way to desaturate the colors.
I see.
Yeah. So as you can see, I put like 0.25, but if I put like 0.45, it's like modifying the color in a way that is creating more contrast and is desaturating the image, which is something that is going to play really nice with a vintage look.
Got it.
So next step is going to be creating this SWizzle patch and set it to XXX1.
What's going on there?
Yes, let me show you the result. There you go. So the SWizzle node is a way to grab just one channel from the input and output that. So this is like the best way to do like a grayscale vintage look.
Input being the RGB channel.
Yes.
Okay.
So now what we have to do, we have to mix the two. So we have to mix our gradient and our manipulated input feed from the camera. And I'm going to use like an add patch. And I'm going to do this and this, connect it through this. There you go.
That's really cool. So you'd manipulated the image to get it ready to apply the gradient, and then you've just merged the two.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes. It's like when you're using like a 2D painting software where you can use layers to layer different things on top or below, and you can. But this is great because you can do it in real time.
That's amazing. So is that gradient pretty much done? Or
yes, I think it is done, but the glasses are not there. Where are the glasses? So what we have to do is to go to the rectangle and set this overlay to be on top of everything. So we do create like an additional layer, and we go to the layer panel. We call it overlay layer, and we set it like this. So this is going to be rendered last.
Oh,
Glasses layer.
that's a really neat trick for when you're trying to just filter the image and create a different look.
Yes. So what's next?
I think we have one more color to do. Do we not?
Yes.
Let's do something. This one's really cool and classic. Let's have something more colorful with like a pop to help people.
Yeah. I think we can do. I really like the colors of these two patches. So I think I'm gonna do like a vertical gradient with these two colors, which I think is gonna be like a great combination. So let's quickly redo our gradient.
So this is generally the same sort of method as you did previously, right? Like you're creating the gradient step with the colors that you'd like, and then you'll eventually add it together with the camera texture.
Yes, this is what I will do. So it will take a bit of time.
That's totally fine.
And
while Davide is doing that, I will just say that it's really worthwhile getting familiar with our visual shader technology, because the look and feel of an effect is so important in how people familiarize with it. They feel so much more comfortable when something looks realistic or looks very cool, and visual shaders really are the power behind that. So if you want to make something look, as we've done here, black and white, or if you want to make something look like an old TV or metallic or whatever it may be, visual shaders are really exactly how you do that. And that really makes the difference to how people consume these effects.
Yeah, and we are pretty much done with our second style. Let's take a look at this. Woo! Nice.
And so for this one, just for the audience here, you've used a vertical gradient, and you've gone from orange to pink. Cool.
Yeah, and as you can see, there is like orange at the top and purple at the bottom.
Cool. So how would a user then be able to switch between the two?
That's a great question. We have to create a switching logic.
Okay.
So to be able to do that, I was thinking we're already using the object tab to cycle through our design for the frames, and then we can use the screen touch, which is basically means that we can touch any part of the screen, and so we have an additional way for the user to customize their effect.
Very cool.
So to be able to do that, we create a screen tap patch, and again, if we zoom here and we tap on the screen,
it's recognizing.
Yes. And then what we have to do, we have to add a mix patch. So the mix patch will allow us to, in this case, choose between one or the other design by driving the alpha value. So if we have alpha 0, it's going to choose the vintage look. If we have alpha set to 1, it's going to go for the more colorful variation.
Okay, cool.
But now we do need to connect these two together.
Yeah.
So screen tap, I think again, we will use a counter. We will connect the counter and we have to put 2 here. And we connect this one like this. So let's try.
And it's 2 because there's 2 options.
Yes.
So the counter needs to know that. That's really cool.
Yes.
That was so easy. That took all of about 5 minutes.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes. Yes. Okay, so
that's really cool. I really feel as though the glasses here are just a little bit too washed out. Is there something, do we need to go back to our modeling software or can we do something here in studio?
Yeah, you're right. They kind of like, they're not really popping and this kind of look a bit weird. So yeah, we don't have to go back to our modeling software or even the vector one. We can easily override the colors directly in AR Studio. So what we can do, we can connect the emission color of the material for these 2.5D glasses to the screen tap. So we know exactly then when we have the vintage look, we can choose to have like a darker color for the frame, while when we have the more colorful option, it's going to be like whitish.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the screen tab here. So let's go to the frame mat. I'm going to go to the emission tab and click on texture. So now I need to create a option picker. And the option picker is a pretty cool patch that will let you, using like a condition, it will let you choose between different possible outputs. In our case, are going to be 2 colors. So I'm going to connect this to the count and then this to this. There you go. Obviously now is option 0 is like dark black, but I want to have it a touch brighter. Maybe this is too bright. So like this. Okay,
that's good.
Nice. And then the second option will be like a brighter. We can also do like fully white. Okay. And it's connected to the emissive, is connected to the screen tap. And let's try it. There you go.
Hey.
Ooh, nice. And then we can tap.
Magic.
I think.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So so we should test this. We should test this on a device. It looks fantastic on Studio. But we should really test this on the device. So
yeah. So to be able to test it, we can click on mirror. So this mirror is gonna try on the device. So I have it here.
Amazing. Oh, I've got glasses on.
So now if I tap on the screen, and then
that's really cool.
Cool.
What about you? Can you get in the screen?
Oh.
So there's only 1 glasses.
Yeah.
How about?
Yeah.
What if we both wanted glasses? How could we make it track both of our faces?
Yeah, it is actually very easy. We can select the face tracker. We press Ctrl D. And by pressing Ctrl D is duplicating the face tracker, the face mesh, and everything below. We just need to set the face tracker to be connected to the second face.
Yes.
So, and we can detect up to 5 faces. So if you have 5 friends, everybody can get a pair of glasses. So now we did that. And also this effect logic is connected to the materials, not the 3D object themselves. So it automatically works.
Perfect.
So we mirror this thing again to the...
Let's have a look. Hey, we both have glasses. That's amazing. You did that in like 2 clicks.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. Very cool. And it would work with the rear camera as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
So you could turn it around.
So you can turn it, and let's see if I look at here.
But then find my face. Will I get glasses?
Yes.
With the rear?
Let me do this. Oh. Amazing.
Hey, I have glasses.
Yes.
Bam.
Awesome.
That works.
So do you
Great
think
job.
we achieved our goal here?
I love this effect. I think we set out to create something that used both glasses and filtering to help people feel confident sharing. And we've definitely done that. We've got 3 glasses. We've got 2 different color effects. They're really cool and hip. And I think they would help people to really just express themselves. We set out to make sure that it was unisex. And I think we've definitely done that. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. These glasses look fantastic. We haven't used any branding, which is great. No logos, which typically don't really bode well with people when they're trying to share. We've kept it really simple. I really love what you've done here. It was really simple. It was 2 gradients and a couple of glasses options, and it's just created this really powerful effect that would help people share. And I just love that it's ageless. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could use this to share and look cool. I can definitely see my dad using this, trying to be really cool with his cool new glasses. So that's all fantastic. But when it comes to getting this out into the wild, is there any tips and tricks you would suggest to people when they're looking to export their effect?
Yeah, something very important is to remember that the effect has to be as small as possible. So in this way, people are going to download it faster, and more people will be able to use it.
Yeah.
So in our case, the 3D geometry is very simple, and it doesn't take too much of effect space. The only thing we have to do is we have to be careful on the design texture, because we want them to look very good, but we do have to run a little bit of optimization on it. So I can show you quickly how we can do that. So we can click on the texture, and we can kind of have global settings, which are automatically, Spark AR Studio is helping you already optimizing all your textures, which is great.
Yeah.
So we are doing most of the work for you. But you can even go further and turn into a manual mode, where you can override the texture and make your effect as small as possible. So in this case, I'm going to lower the resolution of my 4 designs to 512 pixels, because 1K is the original texture size I did, but in this case, this texture is not going to be full screen. So we can make it smaller. So by quickly setting the max size to 512 and the smart quality to 100, we already see that our effect is very small.
That's so fantastic. It's really, really, we can't stress enough how important it is to optimize your effects before you publish them, because the smaller they are, the faster they'll load, and the faster they'll load, the more people are likely to use them. So you really do have to be conscious of ensuring that your files are optimized to make sure they'd work on all devices. Awesome. So the next step for this, if we were to export it, would be to go through and publish it. And for that, you would need to go to Spark AR Publishing Hub and go through the motions there. There's a whole nother masterclass on publishing specifically to help you get familiar with what you need to do and what you need to provide in order to publish an effect. One really cool thing that I love is that you also get a try it link. And so that would mean that if Davide had made this on his own and he wanted to share it with me so that I could try it, he could send me this link and I could load it in my camera. So that's a really fantastic feature. If you did create these effects to help people share and you wanted to test it on your friends, you could do that and get their feedback. So that's a really cool feature, but they'll go into that at far more detail in the publishing masterclass. Cool. So we hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much to Davide for creating that and sharing his artistry with us. Definitely, please, if you're interested in meeting like-minded creators, join the Spark AR community on Facebook. We have a really vivid community. Davide's always in there as well, helping people out with tips and tricks of how to make their effects better. And we cannot wait to see what you create to help people share on our platforms. Thank you so much for joining us.